Max, can you hear me? This is a test. Can you see me on the hear me talking? Say something in the chat. All right, so he can. So we're on. Thanks for joining today, bro. This is a lot more fun when I have someone to talk to. So, oh yeah, the crystal clear too. Beautiful. Shout out to my friend Ari for this epic mic. So, yeah, if you saw my Instagram post, which you probably didn't, I put up a little teaser saying equality is not. Actually, that's not what I said. What did I say? I'm gonna look here. I stole it from this book because that's what we're gonna talk about today. Oh, equality is a lie. Yeah, you heard me. Equality is a lie. Now, that's probably a little shocking to hear, especially if you don't have, the context in frame. Remember, the context is being self-employed. So in the context of being self-employed, equality is a lie. Yeah, let's talk about that. Really, what that means is that everything doesn't matter equally. We're going to dive into that a little bit more. Yeah, out of context, that's wild, isn't it? It's like, whoa, that is not something you should be saying online or anywhere, but I'm saying it. And I actually got it from this book. Just from the cover of this book, it probably looks a bit cultish. It's a black book with like a circle and a line. And there is a lot of information here that is contradictory to what you've probably been thinking and believing most of your life. It goes 100% against what most of us have been taught in school and even led to think out in the real world. Yeah, Scientology book. No, actually, this book is called The One Thing. I've mentioned this before. It's called The One Thing, and the author is unknown. Actually, no, it's not true. I just don't know how to use books properly. I just kind of skipped the part that I want. But I recommend actually starting from the beginning because he talks about himself, the author, and explains why he's a credible source. He is a successful entrepreneur and business owner, aka self-employed. So the first section of this book talks about the lies. Yeah, the lies that mislead and derail us. And this is actually going to be our outline for the next few sessions. Each session, we're going to talk about one of these lies and we're going to debunk them, right? Why these supposed truths and facts are actually not so, especially in the case of being self employed. Yeah, Max is my brother, and he says he also has not learned how to read. So, parenting. We're not going to talk about that. So, I want to read a little section here. Right, this first part that we're going to go over today says, everything matters equally, which is a lie. Everything does not matter equally. Here's a nice quote. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. What do you think about that, Max? Things that matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. Makes sense, right? So what does that mean? How does that take form when being an entrepreneur? Well, I guarantee you that when you have an idea and you're starting to make a business plan, or let's say you already have a business and you're making a list of everything that needs to get done. Well, everything on that list doesn't matter equally. It's not equally important. Some things matter more. And that's really the whole idea of the one thing, is finding the one thing that matters the most, or in his words, that will make the most difference, in such that doing everything else will become either easier or totally unnecessary. Imagine if you looked at that one list and you could find the one thing in that list that made everything else on the list totally unnecessary or just a lot easier. So that's what we're talking about. Equality is a lie. Everything is not equal in business, especially when you're trying to get things done. So let's get on the court here and stop talking about theoretics. It's things like, well, what are some of those things? Tell me, Max, can you come up with something on the spot? What are a couple of things that are on your list as an entrepreneur right now? If we're lucky enough, maybe we'll get him to join the stream one of these days, because he's an incredible entrepreneur, a great photographer and videographer, amongst other things. And that's what his business is. Hope you don't mind me shouting you out, Max. I'm really proud of you, because it takes grit to keep on going, and for being able to do something as long as you've been doing it, and to keep on getting better, which you are. So yeah, consistency is key. So, all right, things on the list. You know what? I actually have a list that I made. Here it is. All right, this wasn't planned, so I made a list. This is about 2 or 3 days old. It took me a couple days to get through all of this, and I've got a couple things going on right now. My main business, stream of income, is being a personal chef. It's a passion of mine, and it also pays the bills. A new business that I'm starting is a restaurant consulting and coaching business. So, just to give you some context for this list. First thing on the list is doing payroll for one of the restaurants that I'm consulting for. Item number 2 is to finish a DocuSign agreement for one of these clients of mine. Next one is call Jason, then post pictures of the couch that I'm selling. Next one is boost an ad on Instagram. Then I need to call Alex. I need to go rock climbing, my exercise. I need to create a menu for another client. And finally, I need to get started on making a proposal for a potential new client. So, this is an example of a daily list. Like, I woke up, actually, I think I did this the night before, because I found that doing, making a list the night before of what needs to get done the next day does two things. One, it makes it easier for me to fall asleep, actually, because I'm not thinking of all the things I'm going to do and if I'm going to forget them or not. I just write them out, and then it actually makes it a little bit easier to fall asleep. And it also makes it easier to wake up, because I'm very clear on exactly what I need to do. So I'm thinking, am I going to sleep in another 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour? I'm like, well, I have that list and I could really use an extra 30 minutes to get through that list today. So, for me, this is a relatively new business. I've been a personal chef for years, recently moved to LA, so I'm kind of starting over in this new market. And then the consulting business is pretty new. It's something I really just started in the last month. So I would say this is a really accurate portrayal of what a self-employed list might look like. What do you think, Max? Did you hear any of those? Uh, Anything you want to add? What's on your list? So I wrote these things out not in order of importance, but in order of how they came into my mind. So most of these things are crossed off. Actually, now at this point, I could check off all of these. And the thing that I did first, which I deemed to be the one thing that would make the biggest difference and make everything else easier, was to do payroll. Thank God, right? Some people make that last. Like, oh, I don't want to do payroll. I'm so stressed. I already know I don't have money in the bank. You know, I have to edit all the time cards and all that stuff, right? So it brings up another concept called Eat That Frog. It's a really good book I recommend. I'll drop the link in the chat. I'll just type here, Eat That Frog book. And the book we're going out of today is called The One Thing. All right, I'm not going to get sidetracked again talking about Eat That Frog. Essentially, it means do the hardest thing first. And in this case, it's also the one thing that will make the biggest difference. Why? Because if I don't do payroll, a lot of people are going to be really pissed, right? It's going to actually create more items on my list. It's make my list a lot longer. There's going to be more people to call. There's going to be, fires to put out. It's just everybody knows what happens when you don't do payroll. So that's what's getting done first. I did payroll first. It also was kind of the hardest thing because I had to do some custom calculations to factor in taxes because their payroll system wasn't working. So I had to actually calculate payroll manually, which means it took a long time. So I did that first. This is actually going to lead into one of the topics we're going to talk about in the future, which is doing the tougher things first in the day, like earlier in the day, when you have the most energy and when your discipline is the highest and your focus is the highest. Don't save the big hairy beast for last. When you're, the end of the day, you're dreading it, you're in a food coma, you just want to watch TV. Don't save it for the end of the day. Do it first. Eat that frog. So, once I got that done, I moved on to the slow money note. I made a phone call, and then I got to about lunchtime, so I went climbing. Climbing, is my form of exercise. I really want to stress how important it is to do something for your physical health and your mental health as an entrepreneur and being self-employed, because no one's going to force you to take a break. Like at your regular day job, hopefully you had mandatory 15-minute breaks twice a day and, a 30-minute lunch. No one's going to force you to do that when you're self-employed. You have to look out for yourself. And you do have to make your health a priority. I think this is a pretty common conversation topic these days. And for me, what that means is stepping away from the computer, getting outside of the house, and doing something that I love, something that's fun. Climbing checks both those boxes. It's physical exercise and it's mental exercise. Sure, I could just, turn my brain off and climb, just like that. Those are the moves. But it's also an opportunity to challenge myself. It's a bit of a meditation. I really have to shut out my excess thoughts and just just be really focused on my breath and my movement, and it keeps things really simple. It's a really, great physical exertion, gets me sweating, and it's just fun. For me, it's a lot of fun. So I can't stress enough, pick something. Pick something that is going to get you away from the computer and outside of the house. It's going to get you up and moving, get your blood flow going, right? We're not going to get into that right now, but exercise has a lot to do with your physical chemistry, your brain chemistry, instead of depending on other substances, like drugs and alcohol, sugar, caffeine. You can actually create a lot of those same chemicals that create pleasure. You can create those in your body just by moving. I'm doing some exercise. So find something. It doesn't have to be extreme. It can be something mellow like yoga, or just do push-ups for 10 minutes. Something to break up the mix, and just help get your mind right. This is something that should always be on your list. This is an opinion, of course, and I'm telling you from experience, if you don't want to get burnt out and if you want to enjoy your journey as an entrepreneur as much as possible, make your mental health a priority. Make your physical health a priority. So, for me, that was climbing. I did that midday. I love going midday because I can come back, I can eat a big lunch, and I just know like my body and my mind is not. I don't focus as much right in the middle of the day. Go figure, right? 12 to 2, I want to take a break. So I'm not going to go against the grain there. I'm going to go with the flow. I'm going to wake up early, get the hard things done first, take a good break, and then jump back on it for another few hours before the end of the day, before I'm just totally tapped. And yeah, then I did the easy things in the afternoon, like post pictures of the couch that I want to sell, and then boost an ad on Instagram, making a couple of phone calls. Those things were super easy. And guess what? I didn't get to everything on this list in one day. I think I did half of them, and then the next day I did the other half. And I think the very last thing was making this proposal. I really put that one off until the last minute, but I had time. That one wasn't as time sensitive. That was like due early the next week. So I did a little bit of that the night before just to get it started. And then I woke up early the day that it was due, that I had to present this proposal, and just finished it off. That works for me. So everything doesn't matter equally, right? Equality is a lie. What do you think about that? Do I have anybody on the stream right now? Maybe Thomas, are you there? You got any questions for me? Are you in the chat? All right, let's take a look. I'm going to dip into this book one more time and see if we can get a little wisdom. Oh, this is actually oh God, this is a big chapter. There's a few really good points in here that we got to talk about. This might take a couple of sessions. So, how many of you have heard of the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule? This is something I learned in school. I did go to business school. They teach you absolutely nothing about being an entrepreneur or being self-employed. So I did learn about the Pareto principle in a different context. The 80-20 rule essentially says that 80% of your profits are going to come from 20% of your products and services, or 80% of the sales are going to come from 20% of your sales team. 80% of the efficiency is going to be accomplished by this 20% of main tasks. That's the ratio of 80-20. Essentially, it's saying that everything's not equal, that everything doesn't work as efficiently or productively, not everything's as profitable, right? There's usually this very small percentage, let's say 20%, that is responsible for the other 80%. So in this book, he talks about effort and results. Effort being the 20% and results being the 80%. So that's what you're looking for. Where you think, okay, how do I know what is the most important? What should be at the top of my list? What's my one thing that matters most? Well, ask yourself the question, what is going to give me the most results? By doing this one thing, not by doing 10 things, but by doing one thing, what is going to give me the most results? What's the one thing that's going to make everything else easier or totally unnecessary? Usually that one thing is like screaming in your face, saying, it's me, it's me, it's me. It's the one that you probably don't want to do. The thing that you should, like, call a bunch of customers, ask them to pay their bills, make that video that you've been super shy about. You're just going to have to be honest with yourself. Just be brutally honest and don't overthink it. This isn't, some type of exam or complicated formula. You've got a list of things to do. You know what needs to get done first, so do it. All right. Oh, it sounds easier than it actually is, which is true. And that leads into our next topic, which is going to be discipline. And, like that discipline, we should have unlimited amount of discipline all the time. And we should have an unlimited amount of willpower at our fingertips 100% of the time. Both of those are lies. I'm not going to, spoil the future episodes, but there is some lie to those supposed truths where everyone's saying, I need to be disciplined all day long, or I need to be able to make hard decisions all day long. That's just not true. That's extremely unrealistic, and you're going to set yourself up for failure if you have those expectations of yourself. So let's get back here to the lie of equality. I want to read you a little excerpt here. Here's a nice quote. As Henry David Thoreau said, it's not enough to be busy. So are the ants. The question is, what are we busy about? End quote. Knocking out 100 tasks for whatever the reason is a poor substitute for doing even one task that's meaningful. Not everything matters equally, and success isn't a game won by whoever does the most. Yet that is exactly how most play it on a daily basis. Whew, what a good excerpt. Who felt that? It's not about being busy. Who's a busy bee? Yeah, just like, oh, if I'm busy, I'm productive. If I'm busy, then I'm going to be successful. Just stay busy, keep doing things. I mean, I was definitely that person at one point, right? Just doing the most, always doing something. I'll tell you what, that leads to burnout. It also leads to you just spinning your wheels and getting distracted with doing little things just to keep you busy, when you could be focusing all your energy towards the one thing that actually matters. So, yeah, yeah, being busy is comfortable. It's familiar. It's true, Like, look, I really want to clarify something, that being busy isn't bad, right? And being busy isn't the wrong thing to do. That's not where we're going with this conversation. It's something to do, right? If you're busy uh, doing things that matter, that's great, right? If you're busy to like just burn some energy and keep your mind going and clear, okay. We're talking about in the context of being self-employed, right? Just being busy for the sake of busy because it's what you're familiar with, it may not be getting you the results that you're looking for. It's just something you gotta ask yourself. Um, we all know that at the end of the day, it's exhausting. Maybe that's what you need, is the argument, like, I just can't sleep at night unless I am totally exhausted, right? Unless I'm totally spent. I need my mind and body to be just run ragged so that I can get some peace and quiet at night. I'm not a doctor, I'm not going to go into that. There's all types of stories that we tell ourselves. I think we can probably all agree that if you're the type of person that's busy, uh, you know, you're you're probably running away from something. You're probably trying to distract yourself from you know things that you haven't confronted yet. You know, another way to look at it is, if you're busy. Oh, what's up, Kakashi? Thanks for the wardrobe. um, but yeah, you feel it. Being busy does distract. Look, another on the other side of the coin, I've also had this belief: if you want something done, ask a busy person to do it. What? How does that make sense? Well, the busy person's got already has a ton of things to do. Yeah, and a busy person knows how to get a lot of things done. you know, Granted, they're an organized and effective busy person, then if it's important and it's high on the priority list, they're going to find a way to get it done. They're going to squeeze it into their schedule, or they're going to delegate and ask for help. So being busy isn't bad, right? What we're trying to do is make the distinction between being busy and being effective. Yes. Oh, what's up, everyone? we got a hangout going now. All right, let's see. Where are we at? We're all been on for 30 minutes. This is great. Thanks for joining, everyone. This is so much more fun when I, got some people to talk with. All right, I want to find another little excerpt from this book. I love this book. Okay. I'm going to bring us to the end of the chapter here because it's got a really good summary. So, big ideas from this chapter. Number 1, go small. Don't focus on being busy. Focus on being productive. Allow what matters most to drive your day. Point number 2, go extreme. Once you figured out what actually matters, keep asking what matters most until there is only one thing left. that core activity goes at the top of your success list. Number 3, say no. Whether you say later or never, the point is to say not now to anything else you could do until your most important work is done. Number 4, don't get trapped in the checkoff game. If we believe things don't matter equally, we must act accordingly. Man, those are some big ideas, right? Probably probably starting to make a little bit more sense after we've talked about it. Saying no to things that don't have to get done right now. That's a big one, right? I think as an entrepreneur, it's really easy to fall in that trap of saying yes, feeling like you have to say yes to everything. Say yes to every single customer, yes to every request, yes to every complaint. And you'll find out that that's actually not true, that you don't have to say yes to everything. And saying no can be really, really effective, especially when, we're looking at it like everything doesn't matter equally. Here's my list. I'm going to pick one thing to say yes to, and I'm saying no to everything else. Or I'm saying later or not right now. And you just pour everything. You put all your discipline, you put all your focus, all your energy into getting that one thing done. And even if that takes you all day long and you can check that thing off, it's going to be a huge success because you chose the one thing that would make the biggest difference. Yeah. Saying no is not it's not as easy as it sounds. But I'll tell you what, it does get easier the more you do it, right? Like you just practice. You say no with little things. You say later. You say not right now with little things until you work up to actually saying no. This is not happening, and then you can say it again and again, and it does get easier, and it actually feels really empowering. There's God, I always refer to so many books. There's another book called Go for No. This is for salespeople, which I believe every single person is a salesperson at heart. And yeah, the book is called Go for No. What? Go for no? Aren't you supposed to be wanting people to say yes? Well, it's actually referring to this perspective, this philosophy. Go for no. You actually want to find people to say no. Why? Because it creates a ratio. It gets people to say you. The more people that say no, the closer you are to finding that one person who says yes. There's a lot to learn from when people say no to you, right? You can look at was it my pitch? Was it my product? Maybe they're just not the right customer. Thank God they said no. Now I don't have to waste my time on them or chasing down people like them, right? The more no's you get, the closer you are to your one yes. What are you two having fun about here? Yeah. See, there's a lot of things to say no to. In sales, we create this ratio, and I love talking about sales. Here's the thing: I think it's a topic that people are a little iffy about. It's got a maybe negative connotation, but I truly believe that the lifeblood of a business is sales. Nothing else is made possible without sales. You don't have a customer service team, you don't have marketing, you don't have operations, none of that shit's necessary unless you have sales, unless you have customers, money in the bank. So we're going to talk a lot about sales on this channel, one way or another. And we're going to talk about it in a way that you've probably never heard before, okay? So in sales, we want to create a ratio, right? Let's just say, let's go with a number 10, okay? You're going to talk to 10 potential customers. And let's say out of those 10, 8 of them said no and 2 of them said yes. That's great. What did we learn from that? That means that you need 8 people to say no in order to get 2 people to say yes. So maybe you talk to another 10 people, right? Or 20 people or 100 people, and you're getting a lot of no's. And at the same time, you understand that those no's are actually getting you closer to a yes. All right, that ratio doesn't always pan out perfectly, right? It's not like you get no, 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 yes. No, 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 yes. Sometimes, just for whatever reason, luck of the draw, you get a bunch of yeses right out of the gate. You call and ask someone, hey, do you want what I'm selling? They're like, yeah. Really? Sweet. And you call another person. They're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you're feeling like you're getting all this momentum. And then someone says no. And you're like, damn it. What did I do? What did I do wrong? You start questioning yourself and you ask another person, you get another no. And now you're getting a bunch of no's. And now you've gotten more no's than you got in yeses. And you're starting to freak out a little bit. What does that all mean? I'll tell you what, it doesn't mean anything about you, most likely, to say you haven't changed anything. What it means is that you're following the law of the ratio, which is you have to get no's in order to get yeses, right? Sometimes, so you can see how that can be a roller coaster. The thing is, you really want to find your ratio. And for me, to find a true ratio, I like to call or contact 100 customers. Out of 100 contacts, I'll then tally up how many people said yes, how many said maybe, how many said no. And that'll give me an accurate ratio of what I need to do moving forward. If you only call 10 people, that could be a fluke. You could get 10 people saying no. Then you're like, now what? Yeah. Yeah, when you're like stuck in the nose, it's like, oh, I'm desperate. I'll take anything, please. And then what happens? You start lowering your prices, right? Maybe they get you a couple more gigs, but they're not as profitable, and you start devaluing yourself. How hard is it to come back up, right, on the price scale? It's really easy to drop prices, but it's really hard to increase them. What? That is not from Gandhi. MXH photo over here gives me a great quote, one that I use all the time. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Wayne Gretzky said that. Yeah, Wayne Gretzky is one of the greatest hockey players of all time, highest scorers of all time. And he said, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. When people asked him, when he retired and he ended up with the most goals of all time, there's a couple other statistics that he had, the highest rating of, and that was the most shots on goal and the most missed shots. People don't really think about that. Like, yeah, this guy who was known for having the most incredible career of scoring goals, highest goal scorer of all time, he also had the highest number of missed shots and just shot attempts. When you put all that information together, it really gives you a whole new perspective. Right? I tell people, don't be afraid to fail. We can learn from our failures, right? If you're gonna fail, then fail forward. Or if you're gonna fall on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up. You only have to make it once, and it's going to take a lot of failures to get there. But you only have to make it once, and people will remember you by your successes, not by your failures. You're the only one that's going to remember your failures. So, get off of it. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to take shots. Go for no. All right, friends. That's it for today. I really had fun talking with you. You gave me a lot of great stuff to think about, to talk about. So, here we go. Can't wait. I'm going to export this to YouTube for anyone who missed it or you want to rewatch it. If you had fun, you want to get a notification next time I'm coming on. Same time next week, we'll be talking about the next myth or the next lie in entrepreneurship and running a business. Thanks everyone for joining. Talk soon.